with cable. We had Spencer Parker, we had Anthea, we had Russ Yallop and Jordan Peake. We had 1,000 people and they absolutely loved it. Covering Adam Bayer in 10,000 people. Today I'm getting a glass thrown at me. I've sworn to God now that I will never, ever, and I don't care who sees this, will use another DJ agency ever again because they just take the utter piss. And I gave Hot Since 82 his first London gig. You know, he was like fourth on the bill. I was getting DJs that were about to blow that weren't locked with any of with Fabric or any of the gatekeepers in London. We could get them. So many DJs they obviously send a blanket message out. Hi, yeah, I love your event. It looks great. I'd love to play. Then I say, have you been to Connected? No. Well, do you know what I mean? Are you going to come to the next one? No. Well, I'm not just going to book you then.
Hello, welcome back to another Rave Room podcast. And today I've got a great gentleman on, 30 years in the game with London's Jesse James. Welcome aboard, mate.
How you doing, mate? Thanks for having me.
No worries, no worries. So
finally,
yeah, mate. I mean, I was ill, and you know, I'm glad you got your laptop.
I smashed my laptop. One thing after another. Yeah, we're finally here, though.
Yeah, it's just the way she goes. But I'm glad we got it going. And so with all my guests, I sort of go back to where it all started, really, like your inspirations and how you got into it.
I mean, as you just said, this is 30 years of me being a DJ and a promoter. So my first ever proper gig was in 1993 when I was 18 years old. I was a record collector from way before that, though. I mean, both my parents were heavily into music. My dad was in a band. My dad was a drummer. My mum's best friend was Chrissy Hine from the Pretenders.
Oh, yeah.
So I was, me and my sister was sort of brought up around music from babies. So it's heavily influenced from our parents. I was just a little bit too young for when the British rave scene kicked off. I was sort of in my last year at school when the 88, 89 sort of hit, and my bigger sister and older friends from the area was going to the raves and whatever and me and my mates absolutely loved it, but we couldn't go. But so we would all buy the records, and a couple of them had decks, and we'd all just sit and play the tunes and listen to pirate radio like Sunrise and Fantasy and Centreforce, all on the FM dial back in like 89, 90. And the moment I left school at 16, 1991, when the music had changed over to a bit of like hardcore raves, but they were still full on raves.
Yeah,
then we'd all go out like 50-handed to, like, as soon as we could get in to these big raves all around the country. And that was when I got my first set of decks, because that was it. I was just hooked then. At 16 years old, I'd left school. We all sort of found, the narcotics side of things before we actually entered the rave. We were so young, so we were ready for it. Do you know what I mean? Not to glamorize it, but we were ready and we knew all about it. And the music just sort of took us. Couple of years of doing that until fast forward till I was 18. I went off traveling to Australia and went to Sydney, and out there, where they were a couple of years behind us, their rave scene had just hit then. So I was out there, a wide-eyed 18-year-old Peckham boy, and told everybody that would listen that I was a DJ from London. I wasn't at all. I mean, I couldn't even mix a cake. And luckily for me, my big sister was out there, and she was friends with like a lot of the guys that were putting parties on, the ravers and the promoters and the DJs. And I got myself a little warm-up set from a guy from Maidstone. Funny enough, he was bringing out the likes of Carl Cox and Sasha and people like that from the UK and putting on big raves. And he was also doing like weekly smaller things. And he was like, "Okay, Jesse, if you're a DJ, you can play the first set at my weekly event in Bondi." And he would put me on like 9 till 10. And it would just be me and him in the DJ booth, and he'd play with the lights, and I would just like crash music about and not knowing what I was doing. It was
Yeah.
only recently. I wondered why there was no one ever in there. And he only recently told me that the club weren't even open till 10 o'clock. I was playing to just literally him. The doors weren't even open. He was
Yeah.
just like giving me some experience. I thought I was DJing in the club, but I wasn't. It was an hour before it opened. And it was out there that I, started buying records again, because I was out there for over a year. And I moved in a shared house and they had some decks there. And it was actually DJ Sasha that gave me some great some great advice, because obviously I wanted, that's what all I wanted to do was be a DJ. And I remember being on a boat party, like a morning after party thing on a boat with him and loads of clubbers and that, all English people. And I must have driven him mad. And he gave me two bits of advice. And he said, look, get two records that you love, that you really like, that you think they sound the same. Don't worry about any others and just keep practicing with those two tracks. Just keep doing it until it clicks, and then you've got it. So that's what I did. I went back the next morning, and he also said, start your own lane. No one's going to give you any bookings, start your own parties. So then, like the following week, that was it. I was going to start putting parties out in Sydney. So I came back in about end of '94 from Australia, a fully fledged DJ and promoter. I'd gone out there and I couldn't mix a cake, and I was just like waffling. But I came back and I knew what I was doing. I knew what I wanted to do, and I just hit the ground running when I got back to London. So where I lived, I mean, I grew up in Peckham, and there was a massive, very famous jungle club there called Laserdrome, and they had a back room. Yeah, this is how it went back in them days. That you'd have your jungle room, and then they call it a chill out room. But there was DJs playing early house music, and I always found myself in there, like just really digging the early 90s house music, bit early MK kind of stuff, Victor Simonelli. It was a bit more me than the jungle,
Yeah.
So I got myself a booking because I knew the woman there. Luckily, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I told her. Her name was Maria. She's passed away now. God bless her. She gave me my first London booking at the Laserdrome in the house room. I mean, I'm talking there's like 2,000 people across two rooms, and she threw me right in the deep end. I played after Fabio, and played 1 till 3, and it was my first set in London. And I turned up with about 80 of my mates, because we were all from Peckham, so we all walked there. And they was all just standing there laughing at me for the first 5 minutes and, giving me hand gestures and what have you. And then obviously all shot off into the jungle room and just left me to it. And from then I was just hooked. She gave me a few more dates, and then I was just trying to do everything I could to get, myself more bookings in London, in South London. And where I had a load of mates, it was the same thing as like fast forward 20 years with the DJs selling tickets. If you can bring a crowd, you're getting bookings. Do you know what I mean? And I always used to turn up with a load of people. And I started getting bookings around New Cross and around Old Kent Road and places like that. And it all just went from there, really. So that's how it's been going for the last 30 years.
That's amazing, mate. Because again, I'm going to revert back to when you said about getting in the club and it weren't even open yet.
That's so funny. He didn't even tell me till like a couple of years ago.
I think it's good though, because then that way you can sort of get used to the gear and that, and
get
the sound test it and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I went out there. I didn't have any records. He said, "Right, I'm going to give you some bookings." And I went out, bought my records, and I was just learning there. But I think if you want it enough, and and you take people's advice, and you will get there. My music taste has never really changed, apart from quite a few years in the mid to late '90s. I fell in love with garage, because the house music that I was playing was getting a little bit hard. It was getting a bit sort of fast and a bit harder. And one day, it was a Sunday actually, me and my friends went out on fell into a club called the Paradise Club in Islington, and the music was completely different. This was like 94, 95, and there would have been like Matt Jam Lamont playing, I think, and it was just a sound that I'd never heard before, and it was so cool. And this was right at the beginning of what we know now as UK garage, and I mean, I just fell in love with that, and I just from then, that's my sort of taste turned that way, and that coincided with me finding a radio show on London's Upfront FM, which was around '96 then, I think, and I was one of the original DJs there, which went on to be one of the biggest day stations in London. I was on there for like 9 years, every Saturday afternoon and Monday night. A lot of people will remember me from that. That was 99.3 FM. And I rode the wave of that sound for quite a few years. But then again, my interest in that sort of tailed off when it got very MC led and a very, sort of, it got a bit dark for me. And then I found my love back into house music again, because house music had changed. I've always been on that 4/4 kind of sound, and then, by the time I fell out of that sort of sound, I came off the radio because I was feeling more of the housey, early defected kind of stuff around year 2000, 2001. And I found myself playing in various parties and various bars and whatever you doing that kind of stuff. I've always had short sort of spell residencies in places. I love a residency, but none of them unfortunately have lasted longer than a year or so for one reason or another. But where I'd play like 5, 6, 7 hours and just teaching myself, especially how to craft a set, because you're going in there and you're playing at 8 o'clock when there's nobody in there, and then you're playing as it gets a bit later and it gets a bit busier. You know how to craft a proper set. 2006, my then girlfriend got pregnant and we had our daughter, and I was like, right, shit, I better grow up now, and I better do something and look, start something for, I'm a dad now. So I launched my still going brand Connected.
Yeah.
Then. So it's just fallen in line with my daughter's 18th. So Connected, of which I've got one this Saturday in East London, is 18 years old, the same age as my daughter.
Wow.
So then that run parallel with my DJ career for the last 18 years.
Yeah.
And I think, as I say, ever since I come back from Australia when I was 19, almost 20, I've played pretty much every single weekend, and I've been,
insane.
That's what I've done since 2009. I've just been fully self-employed. Before that, I worked for a record company called Pinnacle Records, distribution company, and made some great contacts over the years. But I've just been out, on my own since 2009, running this thing now, and still going.
Been in the game a long time, mate. I mean,
bloody long time.
It was good when you mentioned about Sasha with the 2 records, because I listened to the same with Fat Tony about him getting into DJing. There was no DJ, or the DJ felt ill or something, and he played 2 records, A side and B side, just all night long.
I must have driven, but the thing is, I've never forgotten the advice he did give me. Like, he also said another thing that has always stuck with me as well. He said, don't play vocal, then another vocal, then another vocal, then another vocal. He said, if you play a vocal track and then about 6 or 7 sort of dubs or instrumentals and then drop another vocal, the impact on that track will blow the roof. And I've always sort of kept to that sort of ethos as well. And especially, as I say, he said about starting my own lane and starting my own night, because I'm seeing that a lot now at the moment, like in 24, which is good. A lot of these, I mean, there's so many DJs now. There's a lot more DJs than there ever has been, but a lot of them are starting their own nights, and that is what I did back then in the 90s, because no one else really is going to do it for you. If you know what I mean, no one's going to, because there's so many DJs, and that's where the ticket thing came from, because there wasn't enough, DJs doing their own thing, so they just all wanted bookings, so promoters could sort of utilize that. But now I see it like there's a lot more nights now as well, so that's a good thing,
Yeah, I mean, a question I would ask you then is, because I get a lot of DJs and producers watch this show, and What would your advice be for upcoming DJs? What do you look for new DJs? You know, for like getting on the warm
Do
up
you know
set
what
and
I
all that
really?
stuff.
I'm a bit, because I'm quite a sensitive soul, and a big for me now, especially I've got to the big old age I am, loyalty and a bit of respect and a bit of coming out to a night when you're not playing. I could count on one hand of all the DJs that I've had in the 18 years that have gone through my hands, and a lot of them have gone on to do huge things, and we can talk about that in a minute.
Yeah,
They DJs don't seem to want to turn up and support your night that they want to play at when they're not playing. Now there is as I say, a handful on one hand that I can count, and those DJs, and that goes a long, long way with myself and a lot of promoters that I know. Come and support the night if you want to play it, and so many DJs they obviously send a blanket message out. Hi, yeah, I love your event. It looks great. I'd love to play. But then I say, have you been to Connected? No. Well, do you know what I mean? Are you going to come
yeah,
to the next one? No. Well, I'm not just going to book you then. Things like that. Obviously, first and foremost is their talent. Okay, but anyone can mix now. We're not playing vinyl anymore. I see DJs out there, and I mean, I've never used it, but this sync button, my daughter could mix on CDJs when she was 11, and like within 10 minutes. It's not hard. It's not hard to beat match, is it? So all of that, and musical selection is obviously that comes with age, but just actually the way you present yourself means a lot. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And a little bit of loyalty don't go amiss.
Yeah, I've spoke to a lot of DJs, like obviously over here in Vancouver, because the scene here is really, really good. It's really building up. There's a lot of talented people, but not enough clubs for them people, like
Yeah,
any sort of thing, right? But there's a couple of English lads that started a thing, a night, and they got thrown their first festival. A couple of Irish guys have been throwing festivals and events as well. There's a couple of Spanish guys that have opened two clubs, but the latest one they've got Horton in, like some big names in now, yeah. And again, when I ask them, they say exactly the same thing. Come and show your face. Just
yeah,
once is all you need. Just introduce
yeah.
yourself. Say, hey man,
It's
there goes
difficult
on.
for promoters now in London. I mean, it always was difficult if you're on that level, because you just mentioned Horton and people like that. In every major city in the world, these sort of premier DJs are locked in. So you've got DJs in London that can't play for anybody else but Fabric, or can't play for anybody else other than
Yeah,
Ministry. And then if you're a promoter in a large size venue, you can't get any of those guys because they're all locked. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
So where at one point, and we can talk about this later as well, where Connected was in cable in London Bridge. It's gone
oh
now.
yeah, I
We
remember
were,
Cable.
mate, we were able to get. I mean, I gave Hot Since '82 his first London gig. He was like fourth on the bill. I was getting DJs that were about to blow that weren't locked with any with Fabric or any of the gatekeepers in London. We could get them,
Yeah,
but now it doesn't seem to be. You can't get anybody. So it is now the chance for these young DJs to be the next big thing, and
yeah,
especially with social media and what have you. So they can do it, because promoters are not being given the opportunity to book huge headliners at the moment, because they are exclusive to these huge companies and festivals in London. So I do feel that it's a great time for new up and coming talent to break. But then, and this is another story altogether. Yeah, they got to look. They got to see who they're being represented by, because I've sworn to God now that I will never ever, and I don't care who sees this, will use another DJ agency ever again, because they just take the utter piss with
yeah,
prices and oversell their artists. And a lot of the time, the artists don't even know it. Of how they're being represented and the crazy money they're being asked for. So again, if these younger and up and coming DJs, it's a better chance than ever for them now to put their stamp on the scene, because
yeah.
these Premiership DJs they're only getting like one or two a year with your Fabrics or your Ministries or wherever they are locked into an exclusivity deal with. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, and it's because I DJ'd the London network as well. I did Ministry, Pasha, and all that. and you know, it was good for people getting in to like get on a roster with like some big artists as well, like
Yeah,
that you mentioned. And that's the same here. And what I'm seeing now is, like you say, in a little bit hand in hand with what you say, is that you sometimes you see a lot of the same lineups all the time as well.
yeah.
And I think, you know, like I think because a lot of people are playing it safe, but do you think there's still like a thing for promoters these days? Because now the DJs are promoters, and you know,
Yeah,
DJ, you know,
it's totally changed. The game has totally changed, and that's why I say, you know, with the closure of Cable and Pasha and some of the other big clubs that are not, you know, I mean, I suppose you've got Fire and Lightbox, you've got Egg, but there's not too many more. So
yeah,
everything is happening underground and at a smaller level, and I think that's a healthy thing. But there are too many. You know, I mean, it's a bit overkill.
yeah, yeah. And you know, I mean, going sort of back to um when you started Connected, how was it? First of all, how did you come up with the name? And second of all, how did you break into that scene as a new event? Because I know you said like people start their parties. How did you break into that, like the
Well,
blueprint of it?
you know, it did start from a group of DJs that, you know, myself and some friends that couldn't get any loads of bookings, and we were connected. So that's where the name came from. We started, actually, first ever event was on a Thursday night in the city, a place called Bed Bar, and then we moved it over to Shoreditch to a place called Jam Bar. And then originally, so I was from Bromley, and we had a local club there that had like 2 a.m. license called BR1, and we took over Friday nights there, and we just rammed it every Friday, and we'd get more and more. And then whilst we were doing that every week, we would take the back rooms at like Turnmills, another club that's gone,
Yeah.
Pasha, another club that's gone. We would take room 2 and room 3 like that, and we I got asked if we would come in and host either the bar or the main room at Ministry of Sound on a Friday, because we were making a bit of noise, and we were, you know, we were like the sort of the biggest club, not brand, in Southeast London at that time. And I went in and we hosted the main room, and we took about 800 people, and then straight away they was on us. Ministry of Sound, they offered me the whole club on the last Friday of every month on the premises that we didn't do anywhere else. So I just did that, and then that just took us to another level, because we were doing like adverts, street campaigns. We were doing adverts on Kiss FM. We were booking this is when the electro sort of sound and scene blew, like
Yeah.
2006, 2007, 2008, and unfortunately, with the closure of Turnmills, their regular Friday night, the Gallery, which was a big trance night, they needed to put that somewhere. So they took every single Friday at Ministry. We had to get out the door. But it was then that I was at a bit of a crossroads, because the music got a bit silly even with the electro house scene. You know, it got too much, and this was real, like on the cusp of, you know, the early sort of deep house sort of sound, 2011, 2012, with the cooler stuff. And I went and sat with the guys at Cable. Now, other than Jaded on early Sunday mornings, they didn't have any house promoters in there. It was all dubstep. It was all, you know, things like that. And they were like, Jesse, look, we know you were getting these huge numbers in. If you work with us exclusively and you take a date, you pay your high fee, if you get those numbers, we can talk about you coming in here regularly.
Yeah.
And we won't take another house promoter in here, because all like the house promoters at that time all seemed to just follow each other around from club to club. You know what I mean? And that was something that used to drive me mad, because I thought I was the only one that was going to be doing events at Ministry. And then all of a sudden everyone's doing events at Ministry, same as Pasha, same as Egg. And then they really did stick to their word. Our first event, and I've got to give him props, because my resident from day one, Johnny Bloomfield, sat me down,
Johnny,
and he was,
yeah.
Johnny was a lot more cooler than me, and he's a lot more, you know, considerate, and you know, he knew where the music was going to go, and he was like, "Look, Jesse, if you want me to help you musically, where we're going to take Connected, you're going to have to listen to me, and we're going to, you know, totally change the look of it with the branding and the music." And so I was like, "Yeah, no, you're right. Let's go for it." And he gave me the advice because we was going into a new venue, into Cable, and where we was having people like Will Bailey and you know, all this just mad like and Fake Blood, all that sort of electro stuff. We had a few months off, and we came again with Cable. We had Spencer Parker from Berlin, English, but he lives in Berlin. We had Anthea, we had Russ Yallop and Jordan Peake, and they were all on our first lineup, and it was all going to be different. We had 1,000 people, and they absolutely loved it. So then we just penciled in every other month for the next year, and our branding was different, our music, our DJs were different, and it just, you know, we had David Scalacci, you know, we had still like DC. We had so many DJs that no one else could get because we were in such a cool club. Do you know what I mean? As I say, Hot Since '82, we gave him his first London booking. You know, we had Adam Shelton. Our last event, we even had I can't even remember now. I have to go through all the all of the flyers and the artwork and that. But we just had some super cool DJs playing.
Yeah, and, man, some heavy hitters for sure.
Yeah, and we had the last night there, and I got a call on the Sunday. And they said, "You need to get up here," back as I was living down the coast. They said, "You need to get back here on Monday if you want your decor back," because it was underneath London Bridge train station, and British Railwood reclaimed the club, and they shut down Cable completely because they wanted to extend their platforms. Was it?
Yeah,
the South East line. So they lost the club, and I lost my residency in our beloved Cable, and it was another knock for us, but that's where it changed the sort of dynamic of what we do now, you know?
Yeah. And how go on.
Go on.
I was going to say, how did you navigate that from that closure then?
Do you know what? It was really hard because then we had to go back into clubs where we weren't, you know, used to being. We went into Corsica, we went into Lightbox quite a few times. We had some good ones there, but we were, it was getting silly. And that was when it was then that the agents were putting just crazy prices on DJs that you just couldn't make in. There was the margins are small enough as it is. You know what I mean? With higher fees, branding and promo, and the DJs' fees were just getting out of control. And then I just thought, you know what, stop this. And I just had a real not long break and came back. And I thought, you know what, things have changed totally. I'm going to go into a 350, 400 capacity club. That was 4 or 5 years ago. And that's Basing House in Shoreditch. And that's where I still am now. I don't have to have headliners. People come for the brand because they know Connected is going to be a good, safe night with brilliant music. And they put the trust in me to book DJs, up and coming DJs, or, you know, fresh new talent that's going to play good music. And we've got our core crowd. You know, 9 out of 10 times we sell it out, and they're always brilliant parties. There's never any trouble. There's never been any trouble in 18 years of Connected. And that's something I'm really proud of. The crowd's always been excellent. And as I say, I've got one this Saturday in which, you know, we're in our 19th year. But I'm happy with that now because I had a few things go on in my life where I just couldn't, and I was moving further and further away from London, getting older and older. Not that I've got my foot off the gas because I'm still DJing, but so I know I'm still relevant. But as far as putting parties on in London of that size, of that magnitude, and there wasn't any venues, I thought I'm quite happy to work. And I'm good friends with the guys that own Basing House. It's a bloody good club. The sound is incredible. So I'm happy to just now keep it at that size. And I don't have to work with bloody agents and argue with them all day long and pull out the hair that I haven't got in my head anymore. You know?
Yeah. I can see the difficultness with booking DJs now because, like you say, people want so much off the top, and then you get the DJ if they're on, and they cram all these events. All you know, I've seen it where they fly in, fly out. You know, they're not there to enjoy.
I mean, I touched on it earlier. Not that Sam's ever been a connected DJ, but like I gave Sam Divine her first London booking. I gave Hot Since '82 his first London booking. But then you've got DJs that did come through connected with me. Leftwing and Cody, they started with connected. Young Will Taylor was doing some great things. He started with Abode and whatever. He started with connected. I can't think. I mean, God knows that there's been a few. But I mean, I've even reached back to I'm talking a year or 2 years after they were residents for me.
Yeah. And
they want like crazy money. And I don't even believe that their agent knows how much they're, offering them out. And I'm like, really? Well, it's mad. It's mad. Yeah. And one thing that I have learned in this industry, you just have to have very, very thick skin,
For sure, man. Yeah.
You really do. No one's going to do you any favors. And that's the truth.
And like you say, it's all about relationships and like who you know and what you know.
Exactly. And I like to work with a team. Hence the name Connected. I've always been that way. I would rather push somebody else than push myself. I want to work with a team that wants to work with me, and I find myself doing that with how I'm doing it now. And it's manageable at this size, 350, 400 capacity club with up-and-coming DJs, good guys and good girls that want to play and want to work within a team, not play here, there and everywhere for everybody and, dilute themselves. That's how I see it for me personally at the moment in London as a promoter.
Yeah, I and this is why I wanted to get you on, because a lot of people don't know that these big DJs, you were their first sort of leg into the industry, step up.
Mate, there's loads. Right? There's probably, my mates will watch this back and they'll shout and they'll say, oh, what about him? What about him? I mean, my memory's terrible. But there's been loads. I mean, there's been loads that have gone on to do huge things that started with me. But that's great. You know what I mean? I'm all for that. But
that's what it's about, yeah.
But I don't. That was it. Of course, Rossi, absolutely smashing it now all over the world. And God bless him. In a couple of recent podcasts, he has name checked me, and he's been the only one, actually, to be fair, that has name checked me and said, "Look, Jesse James gave me my first booking," and he is going on to be a superstar. And he also, came through us as well. But it is what it is. I don't want anything from anybody else. I don't want nothing. And as I say, we're in our 19th year of running an event. There's not many events in London that can do that long. And yes, we may have gone like that, and we've gone, we've gone up to 1,200, 1,500 people. In 2007, I put David Guetta on in Coco and sold it out on the day. But just before the next thing, I think we paid him something between 11 and 12. Can't get him for less than $250,000 now. We've done some amazing things, but then I'm still equally as happy now as I was then with a 350 capacity club full up with decent people and good music.
Yeah, I love that style of venue. I mean, I know you see these big mega clubs with thousands of people, but I've been to Corsica, Source Bar, and things like that. And when you've got 300 people, you sort of in that journey and that you're way more connected to that DJ music when they play, right? And that's what I love.
100%, 100%. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, as a DJ as well, it's a lot more rewarding than just something. When you're not attached to the crowd or whatever and you get a good vibe.
I also want to pick, because you're a wealth of knowledge, and this is why I wanted to get you on as well, because
well, I have the whole sort of dynamics both ways. I remember I played, because I was also fortunate to be a resident, one of the only DJs that was a nobody for Southwest 4 Festival, SW4, for 10 years. And I always played first to literally nobody. But I remember one year, myself and Johnny Bloomfield were playing, and we got called up. We was in the VIP, and we was at the bar, and they come to get us on a golf buggy, and they was like, "Guys, have you got any techno with you?" And we was like, "Yeah, I've got a techno folder." "Oh, Adam Bayer can't make his set, so can you play? You've got to go on after Local Dice now." So we played in that tent, and there was about 25 people. By this time, there's 10,000 people. So this was a bank holiday. So me and Johnny went on and filled in for Adam Bayer in between Local Dice and Marco Corolla. And we were like shitting ourselves. And we was like, "Have you got this? Yeah, I've got this. Let's do it." We did it. The next day, I had to play in a little, very next day, a residency that I absolutely hated, with a load of horrible people in the suburbs who were screaming at me that I was shit because I didn't have R&B music. And someone threw a glass at me from the dance floor into the DJ box, and this from an empty dance floor. So this is what I'm saying. I go from one end of the scale to the other, so I can speak about quite a lot of DJs. So yesterday I was playing, covering Adam Bayer in 10,000 people. Today I'm getting a glass thrown at me because I don't play rubbish R&B music, pop music, to a load of nobodies. So I was like, that was where I was at. So now I just don't do those things. But at the point, I would take any booking that would come to me, you know. But where I am that little bit older now, I just do the things that I know I'm going to love.
Yeah, that's a learning curve and part of the game, right?
Of course it is.
Your ducking skills got better.
Yeah, God, I mean, I just couldn't believe it. But yeah, so I do regularly go through the motions. I'll have, you know, an international booking or a festival set, and right up there. And then the following week, I'll just be playing to, like, you know, 15 people in a bar that, you know, that couldn't care less if I'm there or not. So it's a life. I would love to write a book. You know, the life of a journeyman DJ. I've seen it all, heard it all, and experienced it all.
Yeah, man. And what I would like to know is like the blueprint of setting up a night, because obviously Connected has been around for years. Like the blueprint of actually setting up a night. I know you've got one this weekend, and when we briefly spoke before, you said like, "Oh, I'm sorting everything out for this weekend for the event." So, what's the blueprint of starting that and getting your DJs and sorting out the venue and all the branding and stuff?
I mean, what are you talking about from now, whilst it's still going, or starting one up? I mean,
just starting an event up also, but
I'm never
like
short
a
of
brand,
DJs.
yeah.
I'm never short of DJs. DJs will always, you know, come to me. So I'm never short of that. So I like to have a good chat with the DJs, and before I book them, and, you know, and see what they've done before, you know, learn a little bit more about them. But then, you know, you've got to work. If you're starting a night, you've got to know the expectations from the club. And you've got to give them your expectations, and, you know, what exactly it is you want to achieve, and just don't cut any corners. Do you know, you start cutting corners, and you can't just stick an event up on Facebook and expect it to be rammed. You know, you've got to get out there. No, we don't have to do the hard things like you used to do, is putting flyers out there, stand outside clubs at 6 o'clock in the morning, giving out flyers and putting them on car windscreens. Luckily, you don't have to do stuff like that. But, you know, there are many, many ways of promoting your event, you know, in this day and age. But you can't just put an event on, put a brand in, and just hope for the walk up. You can't do that.
Yeah. And also, like, with regards to the DJs, I find a lot of DJs now, they want to play like the best set and they want to be in the best time slot and stuff.
Tell me about it. No, I mean, the art of a warm-up DJ is, you know, so underrated. Again, I have had some fantastic DJs that have come up and they realise that they are playing in, you know, the main room or you know, the club, and they're playing the first set. But I've had some DJs that have come in and just crashed it out from 10 to 12. And it's just like, what are you doing? You've got to learn that when, you know, find out what your set time is going to be from the promoter as early as you can. And as a promoter, if you're going to, with the intention of booking this DJ to warm up, tell them early. Tell them how you want it. You can't just have the same top 10 beatport tracks from every single DJ all night long, because the crowd don't want to hear that, you know. The night needs to be crafted, which is why more often than not I play the first set myself. You know, it's got to be, the tone has got to be set.
Yeah. I think that's a massive thing you brought up there, because I've been to some events and people get on the first set and they're like, boom, 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 boom. I'm
Mate,
like,
I've had it
man.
as when I've headlined clubs and I've gone in there, the DJ before me's crashing out like 126, 127, you know, banging tech house music, and I'm like, even my set, and I'm playing at like 1 or 2 o'clock as the headliner. I want to start somewhere, so my set's got somewhere to go. Why am I going to follow you?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
What are you doing? There's so many DJs that don't understand the art of a good warm up, but I guess that comes with experience.
For sure, it does. Yeah, and like you said, being a doing the promotion side, like you said, I think it's a good idea for people who are looking to start bringing their own brand in. Is that you speak to the DJs before the event,
I
so
always do.
that,
I
do
speak
you
to
know
them.
what I
I'd
mean?
expect
So
to tell them at what time I'd expect to book them. I will tell them what I expect them to bring their bloody mates. Bring people. Otherwise, this night ain't going to happen. I want
yeah,
them to be on it. I don't want them to be playing anywhere else that weekend. Are you on board or you not? Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
I don't tell them they can't play for anybody else, but I do have expectations because, as I've said a few times, there are a million DJs out there now, and there's another one right behind you. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
take this opportunity and work with me as the promoter.
Yeah, I know. I think that's good that you brought it up because it's gonna whoever wants to start an event and watch this sort of thing and start their own
Yeah,
brand, they you know instead of just booking DJs, like actually talking to them, being like, "Oh, this is how I want it to go. This is
yeah.
the
Build a little
expectations."
team. Build a little team
Yeah,
of
yeah,
residents.
yeah.
That's the way forward. You know. But if you haven't put on any events, you're not really in a position to start, barking at DJs and telling them what they got to do. But
Hmm.
just surround yourself with like-minded people and share the wealth.
Yeah, mate. That's great advice because, like I said, I want to pick your brain with a lot of stuff that would be
A lot
very
of
useful to
DJs as
people.
well. They all. I mean, because everything's so quick now, everything's so instant. They want to just, they are running marathons before they've even started walking.
Yeah, yeah,
They really are. They're all of a sudden they're making tunes. They're promoting nights and they're DJing within. That's all great, but you've only been doing this since lockdown. Now, what are
yeah,
you
yeah,
thinking? Do you know what I mean? Yes, you do
yeah,
need to be relevant and make tracks, be out there, but learn your craft first. Either do one thing or another. Do you know what I mean? Yes, I know I do all three, but I've got the luxury of 30 years behind me to be able to do all three. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah. How do you I know you obviously produce your own music and one of your latest releases with remixes from Huxley and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So what was your first ever track that you made? What year was it?
Well, I I always, I mean, I don't, I'm not going to sit here. I have to have an engineer. I have the luxury of having friends that are engineers. I have friends that I make music with. Okay, I've got the patience of a 3-year-old. I can't sit in the studio for hours on end. It drives me mad.
Yeah.
So I always need people that I can. I'm an ideas man. Okay, I've got samples coming out my ears. I've got ideas for days, but I've always had to work with people, whether it be an engineer or another producer. I think first track of any that did anything really was a track called Baby Boo, which was on Love Not Money Records,
I
and
remember that.
that did really well. That was 2013, and that ended
Mm.
up getting loads of remixes from like As I Am, Sam Divine did a remix, A-Lister, Real Nice. There was about 6 or 7 remixes out there. They're all on YouTube. That was a real nice, soulfully sort of mellow track. I've never gone into the studio and come out with the idea that I went in with. Do you know what I mean? There's
Yeah, 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 yeah.
something always different happens as you're creating the track. Um, and so I didn't set out to make something so soulful, but that's what came out,
Mm.
and it did really well. Yeah, as I say, that was 2013, so 11 years ago. But I've always, worked and I've collaborated with really good producers and worked with really good studio engineers.
That's wicked, mate. 2014 was when I was set. My first release was 2012. That was an Arch 44. And I
Yeah, I
released
was
another.
44, and about around about them that sort of time,
Yeah,
2014, when I had a release on there as well.
yeah. I
Yeah,
released. I released on there. Yeah, in 2014 as well. And I was well surprised. I got played by Roger Sanchez, Steve Lawler.
brilliant.
I was just like,
Yeah, it's
I
wicked.
was like, fucking hell, like this is a big thing, like and
Yeah, it's a buzz.
such, yeah, it's such a good feeling. And one thing
Yeah,
I do want to highlight is, um, you keep like you mentioned a lot about teamwork and collaboration, which I think
yeah,
we lack a lot of that in the music industry today because a lot of people want to be better than everyone. But you've
yeah. It's
mentioned a
mad.
lot with producing, DJing, branding, have a team
Yeah,
and a crew.
everything.
And that's what it's
And
all about.
even over the years back, I've never been averse to putting events on with other promoters as well.
Yeah.
Back when we first started, as we were blowing, I would do events with the Select Radio guys and also the Red Velvet guys. In fact, 3 weeks ago, we hosted the bar, the 103 bar at Ministry of Sound for Select for their night, Radio Warriors. So I still do work with people, but you're right. And that is where the name Connected comes from, because I love working with people that are on the same wavelength as me. Usually they're the same age as me, don't get me wrong. But I'm of that sort of mind that, two heads are better than one, two brains are better than one. Just fresh ideas around and work with people that will work with you. Can't do it all on your own.
No, it's a lot of work, and but again, like that's where the rave all starts from. Creating like little events in the field and parties and stuff like that. That's what it's all about, having a team.
If you're going to go and attack this and think that you're going to work on your own and not work with anybody at any level, whether that is producing, promoting, or DJing, you're mad. You're not going to get anywhere just by just this is me. I'm on my own. You're not doing. I'm not working with a team. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, like you say, teamwork I think is lacking in the industry a bit now, and it's good to hear that it needs that. Do you know what I mean? I'm glad you highlighted that in all aspects of your career, and like the brands, the DJ career, the producing career, all that sort of stuff. So
don't get me wrong. I mean, more time, I am a bit of a bloody control freak, and I do take the lead in these instances.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't ever sort of dominate somebody. But if you're to work with me, you're someone that knows me anyway. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't just work with a stranger, or a strange brand or a strange DJ and click. They always turn out that they're friends anyway, so people know me. But yeah, at the moment, as I say, I'm just happy. Just plodding along, doing my thing, But I think at some points throughout your career, you've got to work with others in this industry to progress.
Yeah. Actually, going back to Baby Boo, that track, my mate, I don't remember him. His name was Lucas, and we played in.
I'm terrible with names, though. To be fair,
we played in Lightbox, and he played your track. This was years ago. This is probably like 10 years ago. And I was like, fuck it. And I remember watching you and Johnny Bloom. I used to see Johnny Bloomfield at Source quite a bit as well. But that was like, a good night for me. I liked, that was a cool sound. Yourself, Johnny, Rob Cockatton, Pete Griffith, Grant Nolder, all these guys that played there, Scott Rosario and Mike Derry, all these people used to.
Yeah, all good friends of mine. Every single one of those names you've mentioned. Yeah, all great DJs, all great lads.
And, it was like Paul Neary, another one. And all these guys were like, I used to, when I was producing, I used to come love watching out, like supporting that local. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's so good to me back in the
I think there still is a clique there doing that at the moment. It's just that I'm so old, I don't know any of them. But I think there is, and there will always be, especially when it comes to the Source Bar. It's groundbreaking. But at one point, it was the place, wasn't it, in Kent?
Oh,
people
mate,
would flock all over to go to Maidstone. People would come down from London to go clubbing in Maidstone rather than the other way round. But yeah, I mean, I don't know now. I don't play there, so I don't know how it is. But we had connected in there. That was down to Rob Cockett, and he brought us in there. And we had Huxley there. We had Jordan. We had Sam Devine. We had some big names. We had connected in there probably 10 times. It's so strange how things are now. That I mean, other than the owners, they're still the same owners. But I'm talking about the crowd and the promotions manager wouldn't even know who Connected is now.
Yeah,
we've now gone on to 2024. We're miles away now, But that's cool as well. They're still getting cutting edge DJs down there. Then I'm sure they always will.
Yeah. How do you think the going on to that? How do you think the scene's looking forward, like moving forward now?
I think it's healthy because there's some brilliant music being made, but there isn't. And this is nothing new. Where it changed from vinyl to digital, the quality control isn't there, because before they wouldn't. If you was making a track, they wouldn't press it if it wasn't brilliant, because who's going to take the risk on that? You needed to know that it was going to sell. I mean, some of the numbers that I've been told recently that Beatport get on every week, you're talking like I don't know how many hundreds, I don't know how many thousands of tracks a week go on Beatport, but there's only a very, very small amount of them that are really good.
Yeah,
But there are some great producers out there at the moment. There's some really good ones up and coming, and they're doing well. So I think the scene that I don't know about so much in London, and I don't know if we'll ever get back to these touring DJs that tour every city in the UK, like the old days, the old Brandon Block and Seb Fontaine and those guys that were playing every single town around the country.
yeah.
I don't think they'll ever get back to that. But, the major cities are still doing it. But, I think it's easier than ever with the social media aspect.
Mm-hmm. So obviously you've played a lot of venues and you've played around Europe. Am I wrong right there?
Yeah, I've played all over the world.
So whereabouts have you played around the world that's like sort of stuck out to you and like been the good place that you've enjoyed?
I played in Italy quite a few times. I played in Bali 3 or 4 times. Obviously, I played in Sydney when I was a kid, when I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
I've played Germany. I've played Holland. I played regularly in Amsterdam. Love Amsterdam. Where have I played? I've played Thailand. I've played just loads of places. But Italy's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ibiza more times than I care to remember.
Yeah.
I was in Ibiza last year at Ocean Beach Club I played for Soul Town Festival, which is a good friend of mine, Joe Courtney. He's doing some brilliant things at the moment. He runs a great festival here in Beckenham every year, and he did a great day at Ocean Beach last year, and I was lucky enough to play. I played with Lewis Wright from Artificial Colours.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah,
See, no,
again, Artificial Colours, Connected
oh,
Residents.
yeah,
So
mate.
yeah, that was last September. That was brilliant. Yeah, so I mean, they did some great things. Those boys.
Their music, mate, is like I love that style of music. I
Yeah,
miss that style
yeah,
of
and
music.
that's what I was saying about when we went to Cable was Connected. They were our residents, and that was we dramatically changed it from like banging tech house and electro house down to that
That
sort of
sound.
deep new disco,
Yeah.
deep house sounds. And luckily we had 3 rooms to play with in there, and then we had the red room there where we could go a bit tougher. And but those guys they came with some absolute bangers, didn't they? Back in
yeah.
2011 to 2013, those boys were doing it.
Yeah, on Mad Tech Records and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
fucking real good music.
yeah. Good
What was
time
it?
for music.
What was it like playing in like Bali and all them sort of countries? Like, what sort of difference did you see like when you're playing in them different countries, like compared to London
Well,
scene?
I got flown out, I think 3 times to Bali to do. The first time I did, it was for a beach, like a 5-star resort, and I played all through. They called it the 12 Days of Christmas. So I went
Mm-hmm.
out there and I played all through Christmas, and it was myself, I think Darren Emerson from Underworld, and Chris Coco, who plays like real sort of beach deep house kind of, fantastic sound of music. It was us 3 DJing on rotation all throughout the Christmas period, New Year period. But then I got a booking in the centre, and which was in a nightclub to be sort of an underground deep tech set on Christmas Eve. And that, I mean, I was on my own, and I just wish that some of my mates were with me because it was so good. It was so
Yeah.
good. It was a mixture of Australians, English, and Thai people, not Thai people, Balinese people, sorry. And they were just having it. They love it, you know.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and indeed the Italians as well. I love playing in Italy. They love it as well.
That's so cool, man. That you played all
Yeah.
them sort of venues and stuff, and
Yeah, and
you
again, as I
played.
say, I love playing in Amsterdam. We do. I've got connected in Amsterdam in May. On May the 9th. So we did 2 last year, 2 the year before. We're doing 1 this year. And I think we took about 120 people over last time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, mainly
How'd
from
you
Kent.
how'd you even organize all that? Like, how's that all plan out?
Well, it's what I do for a living, you know.
For sure. Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. I know.
initially, I went over there and did a recce and had a chat, and just me and my girlfriend just tried to massively avoid the coffee bars so we didn't get too, we just went in cold calling and said, I'm a promoter from London. Would you like us in here? And we'll bring a load of people and blah, blah, blah. And then I used my brain, and we brought a load of DJs over that were going to be over for the Music On Festival. So we do the night before the Music On Festival starts.
Mm-hmm.
The Music On Festival starts on Saturday the 10th of May. Connected is on Friday the 9th of May. So I speak to people that are going to be coming over for it.
Yep.
All the DJs that, oh, you coming over? Yeah, okay, you can play for Connected. And then we do the night before, do a free party, and it's rammed. It's great.
That's wicked. And it's good that you mentioned that, because you're doing it the old school way, which I think is the best way, is showing your face, showing your face, and showing your face and just being like, hey man, I'm a promoter. As well, a lot of people now, it's like over Instagram, right, or just a message, you know.
You can't beat that face-to-face thing, you know.
No,
you can't beat it. And that's why I say to people, if you want to play for me, I don't know who you are. Come to my event and meet me, talk to me. Do you know what I mean? That's why I say to people, it is face-to-face. I don't know. You could tell me anything, you know, and you could turn up and you're a load of shit. But if you're serious and you want to play for me, come to the next, because there's always going to be Connected events. Come to the next one and we'll chat. And that goes a long way, I feel.
It does, man. I'm glad you've brought that up, because I think people need that kind of advice and hear it, and you don't hear much of that now. It's all about who can fight the biggest hitter and who can do this and do that.
Yeah, now more than ever, because as I keep saying, there's so many bloody DJs out there. That does set you aside from all the others. I must get, and this is, I'm not even, you know, I can't imagine how these big promoters, how many they get, but I must get around 10 messages a week from at least from DJs asking me if they can play for me. And they're obviously blanket messages, and most of them are, hi there, I love the look of your night, you look great, how are you, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like copy and paste. They put that out to every promoter that they can see. Some of them go, hi, Jesse, you know, Connected and whatever you, and I'm sure they are genuine. But the first thing I'll say is, tell me a little bit more about yourself, send me a mix. Have you been to Connected before? If not, why don't you come to the next one and come and meet me? And if they don't show, I don't hear from them again, they weren't serious.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Because I will give people their break.
Yeah.
You know, I've shown testament to that, to all the bloody DJs that have gone on and done great things.
Yeah, I mean, you've definitely got the resume for it and the proof. I mean, 100%.
Yeah.
What event stood out to you the most, like when you've played? I mean, you know, I know you've played like a ton of events, but what one stood out to you the most that really like hit you and thought, wow, this is surreal?
Obviously, every year when Southwest 4 was happening, that was a big thing. I warmed up for Swedish House Mafia at Brixton Academy. I played a few times on the main stage at Ministry, sorry, the main room. I played on the main stage at Coco. And just 2 years ago, I got a booking to play for Hacienda at the docks, to Tobacco Docks, nice. Along with like legends. I was looking through some old artwork the other day, and I remember there was a club. I don't think it's there anymore. It was called Proud in Camden, the Stables, and I
remember that.
Well, the guy Barry, he runs Steelyard now. I met him from when he was managing Cable, and he knew that I could do the business and draw cuts. He used to book me, but what they'd do is they'd put me on with some big headliner, or I'd headline it. But I warmed up for Fabio and Grooverider, which is Fabio and Grooverider and Jesse James. Warmed up for Marshall Jefferson and Jesse James. My good friend Grant Nelson. So I used to love doing that for him as well. That was a real honour. As I say, I mean, I've done some. I probably missed out loads, but I have done some amazing things. I played at some wicked festivals in Creamfields, North and South last year, which I'm doing again this year, Creamfields North for the Soul Town guys. There's been some amazing highlights, but as I say, they go hand in hand with all the other things that I have to do, you know, to earn my living. It's not all highlights. As I say, I'd love to write a book. The life of a journeyman DJ.
I think you should write a book, mate, because you've been in the game for a long time, and you know.
Well, if there's anybody out there that wants to hear my story and that can help me, and you know, any publishers, get in touch, because I have got some tales to tell. You know?
I mean, hopefully I can, maybe this will help you out with that. Maybe someone's watching
Yeah.
who's a book genius. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Shout
never
us.
know.
Mm.
But I mean, yeah, do you know what? I want to pick your brain at so much sort of stuff because it's been so many years. Um, I've got so many questions. Um, with regards to sort of new DJs now, um, sort of trying to keep relevant. I mean, it's very hard to keep up with all these trends and things like that, and it's deflating. I know because everyone has like a full-time job and everyone has this and that.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, I know how you started, and you do, like you said earlier, you do like three things at once. You know, you're
Yeah.
doing the promoting. So
I'm
how would
juggling a
you?
lot of plates.
Yeah, I mean, so how? What advice would you give to people trying to juggle all this? You know, trying to make something of themselves, or trying
Well, I
to
mean,
do
the
something.
main thing is like just pass on my, advice that I got that day as an 18-year-old from Sasha. Start your own lane. Start your own, whether it's your own sound or your own brand. Branding is very, very important, and your own lane. And like what Patrick Topping did and has done. You know what I mean? He's created his whole sort of sound and label all within his little brand. You can do that now with or without help of a management on social media, especially the young ones, because they're so they're fresh to it.
Hmm.
You don't have to do a million things at once, but just don't give up, and it will click eventually
Yeah,
if you're serious about it. But
yeah,
I also wouldn't advise diluting yourself and right as a first, a new up and coming DJ, of just taking any booking and anything you can take, whether it be two, three things a night, not getting paid for any of it, just to show that you're getting work, because that's no good to anybody. Team up with somebody, like somebody that wants to bring you in the fold, or create it for yourself. If you've got a lot of these DJs that are from out of London that have got their own, like how can I explain it? Somewhere like, if you're in a little village or a little town in the area of like Cambridgeshire or something, and they've got a late bar there, just drive that bar mad until they give you a date, and that's the only thing in your town, and everybody will follow you. Build it, and build it until there's, you've got a good strong following, and then move it into a bigger city or a bigger town and take people with you, and you'll be amazed how quickly it grows.
yeah.
There's Mix the old sort of ways with the new ways. I don't know if what I'm saying is coming across, but that's the advice that I would give.
No, I think any advice is good
Don't
advice. I
whore
mean,
yourself out is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know,
Don't overdo it. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and how would you like? I know you say you get a lot of large numbers come to your events. How do you initially build up that audience and that sort of following for anyone that's sort of
Well,
starting out?
well, but I use by putting on good events with, and there's no, I mean, yes, as much as I say, get your friends involved if all your friends are DJs as well. But if you've all got the same group of mates, that's pretty pointless. Reach out to someone in a different town and that's equal to you doing what you're doing, and team up with them. And then you've got
Mm,
their mates, your mates, his mate, her mate, your girlfriend's mates. Do you know what I mean? Bring it in like that and just build it out organically like that. Because unless you're putting on a headliner that people want to see, they're not going to, the crowd ain't going to come to you. Do you know what I mean? Unless they're your
yeah,
followers, you know?
yeah, and how, like, if someone can't afford like a headliner, how
Well,
do
do it
they?
exactly the way I said.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
just sort of,
build it up, build your lane.
yeah, yeah.
You
Because
know what I mean?
I think a lot of people that I've met, they want to book a headliner thinking that's going to be their biggest exposure for their event. And like you said, like you've done with Connected, building it from grassroots, having that, you know what I
Yeah, and
mean?
then you can have the
Yeah,
luxury of putting on a headliner. And then you can have your luck, because it does. Once you hit a certain number, then that is the next step to go to that. Go
yeah,
from 100 people, 150 people to once you've got that, then if you can afford, then you can afford a headliner of some level, especially. And then there's headliners and there's headliners. There's headliners that everyone will know, but then what a lot of DJs get sort of misunderstood about is what they call a headliner. Your girlfriend and her mates don't know who that is because they're just a producer. Do you know what I mean? It needs to be someone that's done something of a level where your everyday Joe
they're established,
knows who it is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, honestly, this advice is just
because
golden.
All you're gonna get is a load of DJs turning up that already want to play at your event anyway, already playing there, and the only people that are going to get excited about it are you and the DJs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
it needs to transpire to, as I say, the girls, their mates or your group of mates that are not into DJing. If you go, I've got so and so playing, they go, oh, all right, great. But if it's a name that they've heard on the radio or something like that, it needs to cross over without being commercial.
Yes.
This is the way I've always tried to get when I had headliners, which I don't have to do anymore, thank God. That is another piece of advice I would give. If only you and your DJ mates know it is, are they really a headliner?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think what you've brought up is good, and again, the knowledge is just a lot of people don't hear this sort of stuff now, and because social media I'll say this in every episode, but social media shows this picture of 15-second fame or 15-second success, but they don't see all the hard work behind all that, and they think that guy's just smashed it online. That means I need to do that, and the only way I can be successful, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's quite defeating when they don't see that success straight away.
No.
And so with you explaining this whole story of how you started and how growing it from grassroots,
this is just the way it's worked for me. there are a million different ways of making it in this industry.
For sure,
you can, and especially if you are a young talent, you can do it from one or two tracks that just luckily get signed. Toolroom signs you, or Defected signs you, or something like that. Then you lucky sod, you have done it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But there are ways of you making it by building a brand by putting events on. You know what I mean? It's not really going to happen for me right now because I'm God knows how old I am. It's not, but mate, I'm just happy that I don't have to go and get up on a Monday morning and dig holes. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy with what I do. But if you're young and you want to go right to the top straight away, there are various ways of different avenues of you doing it. But just the main way I would say is build your own lane. Yeah,
no, that's good advice, mate. Any advice is valuable advice to someone. Do you know out there?
Yeah.
So what's the future for yourself? Connected? What's in the pipeline?
Well, for the first tip of time, I would say it's uncertain because, as I say, I am getting older and I don't know what the next steps are going to be with me. No one really wants to see a 50-year-old DJ out there, still plugging away. But, I'm just happy at the way things are at the moment. I'm production-wise, there's some really cool tracks coming out. There's a lot of collaborations that I'm going to be doing as well. As I say, I've got Connected booked up to the end of the year. I've got some festival sets booked in this year. I don't really look. I've got Amsterdam. I don't look too long term now. I don't need to take Connected. I don't want it to be the biggest brand in London. I don't want it to be the biggest thing since last because I've done that. I'm quite happy now doing that. I still love going out DJing, which I do week in, week out, because people know that with me they're going to get good music. I've got that knack of selecting great tracks and making people dance. As long as I've got DJ bookings and I can throw a party here and there and put a track out now and again, I'm blessed. I'm very, very happy.
Yeah, mate. And
I'm also getting married this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations.
That's taken up a lot of my time this summer. Yeah. So
that's another plate to juggle as well.
Yeah, exactly that. Luckily, I've got a lot of friends that are DJs, so I haven't got to pay out for any DJs. That's one thing that is sorted. But yeah, looking forward to that. Getting married this summer.
Oh, mate, congratulations!
Thanks, man. Cheers, mate.
Well done, mate. That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, things are really good at the moment. I'm very happy and content. I think that comes with age because I was never content. I would say I wasn't happy, but I was always searching for the next thing. and just
yeah,
driving people mad. And that is
yeah,
another thing that actually, when I first started, I used to expect so much from my friends. Got to be there. You got to be there. You got to be there. I used to drive them mad to the point where so many people had to tell me, Jesse, you know what I mean? And the day when I realised you've got to put parties on for people that are not your friends, and when you can do that, I mean, I go to my events now, and if my missus ain't with me, I don't know anyone in there. I'm on my
yeah,
own, and I love
yeah,
that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas before, when I first started, you can rely on your mates, but your mates can't keep supporting you. Do you know what I mean? They're there
yeah,
for the
yeah,
beginning, and they will be your mates forever. But do you know what I mean? That's another bit of advice. I used to expect so much from people, but now I don't. And I guess that comes with being a bit cynical and a bit, with age. But I'm very content now, whereas I hadn't been before.
yeah, yeah. No, that's it's I think you know your friends are not because they don't want to be, but I think because they lead their busy lives, they can't be at every event,
Yeah,
right? So you
everybody's
can't
got shit
rely on
going
it.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
So it kind
And
of
they will be there to start with. They'll be there as much as possible. But it's as a promoter, you can't expect everyone to be there for you all the time.
yeah,
But,
and that's another thing as well. I'm going to chuck in there is a lot of, and I don't think I had Jordan Peak on the show.
yeah, I watched it. I saw it.
Yeah, yeah,
He's actually
Jordan's
coming back to play for me. It's great because we've reconnected again. He's coming back to play at Connected at Basin House in July. Um, and I'm so happy to have him back, and I'm really pleased that he's back. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
He's a
definitely.
great talent, a great British talent, and I think he will go again and get the success again that he had.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Jordan years ago, and when I got him
Yeah,
on, obviously we all know the same sort of people, right?
yeah,
Yourself, me, and him, and we're just connecting the dots and stuff, and and he he uh he is he's like, mate, any help you need, I'm happy to help, and I was
yeah,
like, oh,
brilliant.
mate, I appreciate that, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? And I
Of course
love
it
that
is.
about all this. Do you know what I mean?
Again, and that brings it back to what we were saying. You're working with people, and you have to in this industry.
Yeah.
And totally.
I've been fortunate to have like yourself on and other lucky people like T Williams I had on.
Yeah,
I had Hector on. Hector was so Hector flew in, and I was in Vancouver at this new club that's open called The Vault. It's an old bank money
wicked.
place thing, right? And um he was like, yeah, man, I'll help you out for sure. He's like, I said, oh, come and watch your event 2015. You and Nick done the social, like the saved event there
Yeah,
at Source Bar, and he was like, "Yeah, I remember that, man. Yeah, I'll come." And do you know what I mean? And when I spoke
yeah,
to
he's
him,
great.
I was like, I'm doing this basically, for my family to be able to, get away from my normal career to this, right,
Yeah,
and back into music again. And he was just like, "Oh man, I've got a family. I'm more than happy to help." And I was just like, "Mate, this is what it's like, you know,
should be
all
like.
about." Yeah, and I love all that. And
Yeah, definitely.
it's just amazing. It's amazing that, like you say, the people that you've had, that you've given a leg on. It's amazing the people that you've met, and that I'm fortunate enough to meet through doing this as well. It's like it's so many like amazing people,
Yeah,
and I had another guy called Mike Salvion. He's from New York. He was a great, helpful. Justin Martin. I was I was
legend.
I was doing a um. I take my podcast to this festival in Canada called Bass Coast, and they have
Okay,
a lot of big DJs there. Ivy Lab Boys were there, and Interplanetary Criminal, and all these big DJs were there. And I just texted him and said, "Hey man, would you want to come on the show?" And he just said to me, just a little Instagram text, a message, and he replies back straight back to me and said, "Yeah, I've just landed. Do you mind if I do my set and then we'll do it after?"
oh
And I was
nice,
like, "If you want to, yeah, you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, that's fine." And then I got him on, and then we was there for like 2 hours, and his manager was like, "Come on, we got to go." He's like, "No, no, 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 I'm just gonna have a few beers with these boys and still chat." And
great.
then from that, I got Ardalan on, the guy he sort of helped build up, and all them connections, like
Yeah,
you
that's
say with
brilliant.
your
Yeah,
brand, the connective thing, right? It's all
that's it.
part of it, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's wicked.
yeah. You need people like that too. Otherwise, the scene won't go anywhere.
No, and people that have
You know.
got that, like yourself, and people that have got big and done as always helping the little guys still. Do you know what I mean? They're always
Yeah,
helpful.
I'd say it's about 50-50 because there are some
Yeah.
that, you know, that especially, I always liken it to like the football league. You got your Premiership DJs and you've got your Championship DJs and you've got your League One and League Twos, but some of those guys right at the very top are a lot more helpful than the ones that are struggling down the bottom who really do believe they're just touring DJs and they're lucky
Mm.
to have that, who really do believe their own hype and they don't do nothing for no one, and that's
Yeah,
why they're
yeah.
not right at the top. You know what I mean?
Mm.
The ones that are
Hmm.
right at the top that have got nothing to prove, they're the best. They're the ones
Yeah,
that will help. If you can get to them, they're the ones that will help for you, advice, play for you, but it's the ones that believe their own bullshit is the ones I just can't deal with. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's 100%. Yeah,
And there's quite a lot of those, but they're lucky. They're just touring DJs, and they're lucky to have that. They've got
yeah,
big like machines behind them, their agents and their managements pushing them. But the ones that get right to the top, they're the best ones. They really are.
for sure. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to bring up, Jesse? Like, with regards to, you know,
No, not
yourself,
really,
the
mate.
brand,
I think
anything?
we've just about covered it all. As I say, you check out my Spotify and check out my social media. Jesse James, sorry, oh God, Jesse James DJ. Got
Yeah.
there in the end. And my Spotify for all my latest tracks. And just and the connected pages. We're still relevant. We're still popping. I'm still DJing. We're still here.
Yeah, and also another thing as well, like I know you mentioned your age, I think age has nothing to do with it, but we're seeing a lot more of the old school DJs now come out of like their sort of their little cabin with their decks and they're getting really well back into it again now, and
Yeah, I think that Clockwork Orange, the
yeah,
of that has brought a lot of careers back.
yeah,
A lot of, and funny enough, they're doing an Australia tour starting this weekend in Sydney. And my good friend Brandon Block's just got all my family live in Australia. He's just got them all on his guest list this Saturday. So yeah, they've got a lot to be thankful to, like people like Clockwork Orange for bringing some old school careers back as well. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
as I say, I don't think it'll ever get back to the time where these guys are playing in every little town in the UK, but they're certainly more relevant now than they were. They were in the wilderness. A lot of
yeah,
these
yeah.
DJs, but Clockwork's back, and I don't know how long this whole old school sound can last for, but they're certainly riding that wave at the moment, and that's a great thing as well. It's not personally what I'm into, but it's like, as you say, old school DJs, they're getting their shot again.
Yeah, it's even like I'm gonna quickly bring this up before we finish, but like even vinyl, like vinyl's coming back at such a big rate now.
Apparently
And
so.
yeah, and it's like I used to do the show with a friend of mine called Craig. He's from Swindon area, and he used to
Right.
party in Bristol back in the old days of like,
Bristol's a
89.
great city. I've played there a
Oh,
couple of times.
mate. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
it's
brilliant
I've
city.
when people here say to me, "Oh, where should I go if I want to party?" I go to Bristol. It is like
Yeah,
the party capital, and
yeah. I've
you
knocked
know,
on a few doors actually this last year because Connected is we still do places like Brighton, we still do some other places around the UK, Glasgow. But I would really love to put a Connected event on in Bristol, or get some more contacts down there. I haven't played there for years, but it's a cool city. But
yeah,
yeah, yeah, the people I play. I mean, it's not for me. I've done my days of lugging boxes of records around. I mean, I love the fact I can go out with my USB stick and my headphones, and that's me. Don't get I've paid my dues with vinyl, but
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I know there are, but then there aren't too many clubs that have got turntables in that I notice. It's not really an
yeah,
industry standard at the moment. So I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think that's more for personal home use than I don't know if you could be a regular week in week out DJ and just strictly only play vinyl. I
yeah. I
don't
mean,
think it's back that much yet.
yeah, I mean, a lot of people here play vinyl. Like I was saying earlier, the guy that I started the podcast with, Craig, yeah, he was from Swindon, and I'm an electrician by trade, and so is he, and he lives over here, and we met at work on site, and he was like, "Are you from the UK?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm from England." he said, "Oh, as you do, right? Most people from England, oh, DJ," and he's like, "Yeah, so I've DJ since the early '90s." I was like, "Oh yeah," and I went around this place, and he's got all his vinyl that he shipped over from late not from the early 2000s,
Wow.
and he's like, and I don't know if you've seen it, but we had Junior Tomlin on who used to design all the flyers.
Okay.
We tried to get Pez on, but it didn't quite work out. But
Pez is a
yeah,
legend.
yeah. But
Yeah,
we had Junior Tomlin on, and
yeah.
and we had Fat Media Dave, who runs the biggest online archive of all the rave flyer art.
Okay.
And Craig's like said to me, we got them on because Craig's really into all the art, all the flyer art. And
Yeah,
Craig said to me, do you want to see all the flyers I've got? He said, I've got hundreds, almost 1,000 of them. Really? He goes, yeah. When people used to put them under the wind wipers on the windscreen, so I used to just
yeah.
take them out and then just fucking take them home and put them in like a sleeve. So he bought all these flyers that he's got, and we done an episode where we opened them up, and the flyers were like, you had your Fabs, your Groove, Ryder, Sasha, Digweed, all these sort of people on the flyers, but they were just so well made. And then as you opened them
Yeah,
up, they were like, there was one that was a festival that I don't know if they do it like this anymore, but you had like a Ferris wheel on at the event, and then the games, and then
yeah,
all this crazy shit go on. So
yeah,
much work put into it, and it just
yeah.
blew
But
my mind that I met a
yeah,
guy
back in
here.
those days, back in the rave days, they would talk about which people should put a bit more emphasis on now. I feel as well is back. It was always like 20K turbo sound and things like that.
Yeah,
That was as big as the DJ names. Do you know what I mean? The attractions that they had. They,
yeah,
I, sound is seriously important to me, very very important, and
hmm
people should put a bit more emphasis on this. What club has got amazing sound rather than what DJs they're putting on, because that's what's
yeah,
important. You know,
yeah, definitely.
but unfortunately, the DJ has become the sort of visual aspects and the main seller of an event. But it should
Yeah,
be everything else. It should be everything else that what you're doing. You know,
I remember when I played at Mojo and Rob sorted that out. He got
loved
that
it there.
sound done to a T there. He got Martin
Yeah,
audio
brilliant.
in, and he said,
Yeah,
and I remember you probably remember this as well. The laser lights, the
yeah.
straight light, and then the bass boxes at the back
That's
just
why
sounded
people had such a good
perfect.
time there. Because can you imagine
Yeah,
if it's a tin pot shit sound system?
yeah,
People would just go out there with their head banging and their ears ringing. They wouldn't go
yeah,
back there. You know,
yeah,
people they need a good sound system more than they think. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean?
And that's
That's
quickly
like why
what.
I love basing house so much. It's got function one throughout. And if you stand at a bar and it's only a small club, the speakers there ain't no speakers by the bar, so you think it's not very loud. But then when you walk towards the dance floor and you're in the middle of the dance floor, you are getting this audio coming from all angles, crisp, loud, bassy, just really warm sound,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even the DJ booth, the monitors have got two big function one monitors. It really helps.
Yeah, and that's when I first started. Rob gave me my first go in Source Bar. He said to me, "The sound you should walk out of a club and you shouldn't have any ringing in your ears. It should be done down
100%.
to T."
He's
And
exactly right.
yeah, and that stuck with me like for years. Well, and I thought, oh, when I went into clubs, I was like, oh, come on, my ears are ringing,
Yeah.
and that kind of goes on to this. I want to bring this up actually because DJ Mag brought this up before we finish up here, but sort of hearing protection and hearing when it comes to clubs. I mean I don't. How have you looked after your
Well,
hearing?
I'm
How do
really
you deal with
lucky
that?
because but going by, as you can see, the bins, I'm more going blind than my ears. I don't know how. I touch wood. I don't have any problems with my, and I've played, as I say, week in, week out.
Hmm
I have selective hearing, don't get me wrong, with my missus, but
Yeah, that's
I
just
don't
male
have a
things.
problem. I know that a lot of DJs do have moldings, have earplugs, but I don't. I've never had to have them, so I'm
Yeah,
very lucky. I'm very,
yeah.
very lucky. I have more problems with my eyes. I've got bigger problems to worry about than my ears. They're actually fine as far as I'm aware.
hmm
So yeah, but you're right. I mean, you can't put a price on your ears and your eyes and things like that. So if you feel like you need protection, then do that. But
Yeah,
I don't also know how I would feel. I'd feel weird having them in and then putting my headphones in on. I don't know. because I like to have it. If I've got a good monitor, I'll have it loud and bassy, you know, especially in the mix. But yeah, horses for courses. But I'm lucky I don't have to have earplugs in.
Yeah, I've started wearing them when I've gone out. So I have slight tinnitus in my right ear.
Right.
It doesn't affect me, but very,
Do you
very
DJ
like.
with them?
I do, yeah. But when I produce as well, because even though I haven't released music for a while, I still fucking make music. I still love getting on there and doing it right. But I hear it when I'm tired and I hear it when I'm a little bit stressed. But other than that, I don't hear it when I sleep or anything like that.
Oh, good.
But it, I'm hearing these stories of where, like these DJs is, I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but they've got such bad tinnitus and it's just constant ringing all the time.
Oh.
And I wear plugs now.
I heard Waff on another podcast recently. He was talking about it, but then again, he said that he couldn't DJ with them in, so he was taking them out anyway when he was getting to the club, and because it felt alien to him. But he's got bad tinnitus, and I feel for people that do, but I'm luckily I don't. But yeah, sod that.
Yeah, no,
this is another reason why we need good sound systems in places.
That's kind of why I brought it up, yeah, because obviously, you mentioned the sound system stuff, and when people start events, I say to them, just make sure the sound is the best before anything else. It's so important.
Yeah. It's so important. It really is. It's as important. That's why they used to have it on. Going back to the flyers, they'd put what system they would have on their flyers.
Yeah,
sound, security, and the music are the three very important parts of someone's night out, aren't they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
if you get to the door and you get mugged off by the bouncer, you're going into the club already like bouncer, but the door person. You're already going in the club in a bad mood. If you go in there and your ears are ringing, you're coming out in a bad mood. Everything those things need to be right for the person's experience of a night out. I feel.
Yeah.
And mine.
I totally agree, mate. I think it's good. And I just want to thank you ever so much for all the info, your story.
Thank you, mate.
I hope you've enjoyed it.
I have, mate. It's the first and I'm probably the only one I'm going to do. So
I don't know. You might get some more now, maybe.
Well, I'm waiting on that book deal now.
Thanks
so much, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy the show. Is there anything that you think I could, get better on? I always ask people this question. Is there anything you think I could do better?
Mate, you've been great. You've been brilliant, even from the early technical issues that we had at the beginning. You're doing brilliant, mate. Honestly.
No, I appreciate it, man. It's not an ego thing. It's just more of a how can I improve better every day.
Totally.
It's
been an absolute pleasure, mate.
No, I appreciate it, Jesse, mate. Thank you so much.
Okay, you take care, bro.
And I've enjoyed your story massively. So
thank you. Yeah. Cheers, mate. Take care, man.